Again, much of it is in a historic district, and to see how that could work. We've also increased the area of commercial intensity along the mixed-use east along Lake and Lucerne to allow some arts uses. And then this gray area is the artisanal industrial zones, trying to encourage new uses that are compatible and sympathetic to neighborhoods that are nearby, as well as recognizing this historically is an industrial area. The light gray is identified as a potential transportation-oriented development district, one here, one along 9th, and then one along 10th. As many of you have heard, our comp plan is set up that, and the zoning code is that we have respected the fact that we want to have development by right, but as development gets higher and becomes more intensive, which means it's a larger building, more units, we want to try to encourage those to be more sustainable, architecturally compatible, to fit in with the historic, cultural, and architectural heritage of the city. So we have identified a community incentive bonus program that when you go and have a building anywhere in the city that goes above 2 stories, you have to do a little bit more to make it special and make it fit in with the city. So most of these districts are limited to only 2 stories anyway. The single residential is 2. The multifamily 20 is at 2. The neighborhood commercial, which is little teeny bits, are at 2 stories. The other ones are effectively 2 stories unless you do the incentive program. So if you'll pop in, we're going to go to a slideshow. That PowerPoint, sustainability incentive. So in the comprehensive plan, it identifies this idea of community benefit. What our goal is to incentivize people who invest in the city to do projects that provide a community benefit, make the community benefit better, respect is already here. So this is a presentation that's going to be heard by the Planning and Zoning Board and Preservation Board on Wednesday night, but you go to the next slide. So we have what's called a Sustainable Bonus Incentive Program. And essentially it's an incentive program where we'll give you a little bit more when it comes to FAR, floor area ratio, which is the ratio of development compared to the area of a lot, and also height. There is not a floor area ratio in our current code. Under our current code right now, zoning code, almost anywhere in the city you can cover the entire lot with a building. In some places it's 95% of the lot can be covered by a building. And you can go straight up as tall as the code will allow. And most of the city right now is 65 feet. All of Dixie Highway, much of downtown. Granted, that's in conflict with the comp plan, both the previous one and this one, but I'm just giving you some of the history. So when you go above 2 stories, we're giving you an incentive of adding more floor area, so as the building gets taller, there needs to be a little bit more that you can do with it, and then also the increased height. It's limited by both stories and overall height, and it depends on where you are. So who gets what? Developers get incentives to increase building height, floor area ratios, and expedited permit review. The city gets an array of public improvements that benefit and help foster a more sustainable, economically vibrant, diverse community. Go to the next one. What this adds in value to a project. If you go under straight zoning, we have a fairly simple zoning code, and it'll give you a sort of perfunctory, simple, plain building. And from what I've gathered, having been here almost 2.5 years, a little over 2 years, is that Lake Worth is not real plain and not real simple, and we would want to try to encourage people to do more than just the very, very minimum. So what this added value from this incentive program is requiring developers to do a little bit more than what the standard zoning would allow. It also helps us identify community needs such as open space, increased landscaping, public plazas, public amenities like a bus stop. It's kind of sad that many of our residents ride buses and there's not a single bus shelter in the entire city. We're trying to encourage greater setbacks in certain areas to provide a more appropriate transition from the automobile to parking to the public realm to the private realm. There is a mechanism in here that if a developer doesn't want to actually do those improvements on the site, they can actually do community investments throughout the city or pay into a fund. So there is a possibility that we could actually do some things on our own that would not be strict on the developer. Things such as maybe some public parking, public open space, improvements to parks, and those kinds of things could be identified for the public planning process and adopted by the City Commission on a yearly basis. How would it work? We want to have our planning and zoning be predictable. And what that means is that anybody who comes into the city is going to know how the process works. It's easy to understand, it's easy to apply for, and when they go through the process, not only they as the developer or investor, but also you as the community knows what's going to come out the other end. So with this value-added sustainability bonus program, we have hypothesized that for each additional square foot above the second floor, you have to do an additional value of at least $5 a square foot on your project. So let's imagine you had a 100,000 square foot building, of which 30,000 of that was above the second floor. You have to spend $150,000 on elements or components to your project that are above and beyond the requirements of the code. And that is across the whole city. And there isn't a variance process from that. You either meet the requirements or you don't. The city commission would set on an annual basis what that dollar per square foot would be. Right now in the code, we have a range of between $5 and $20 per square foot, but needs to be a fixed amount, which will be established by the city commission. And it has to also be something that doesn't preclude or prevent development from happening. So from our basis standpoint, we're trying to keep it at no more than 10% of the raw construction cost for a square foot of a building, which is around $15 a square foot. The city commission would actually create a separate independent trust fund if developers wanted to just put money in it and it would just be in there for future projects. They also would approve and ratify a list of projects they would like to see happen. That would happen through the community input process. We probably carry it through the tree board, the planning and preservation board, the historic resource preservation board, and then will be adopted an annual list of projects that could be funded. And we'll also do an assessment each year of our success or failure in the process. And then the city commission would also review on an annual basis what that square foot amount, because obviously as time goes on, maybe the raw construction value will increase. Consequently, the value per square foot might be raised. What this does, it actually provides a very clear, transparent process. The application is only 3 pages long. The zoning code goes into what you can and cannot do in regards to the sustainability program. As it's proposed right now, if you do a LEED certified building, which that's under the United States Green Building Council, it's a certification for buildings that are high performance, energy efficient, respectful for the environment, have superior architecture, are water efficient, have interesting, innovative design concepts, and go on along this. That would actually meet the community benefit, because if you look at the checklist on what is required to be a LEED building, many of the things that are on the checklist are the things we want from the project to begin with. So if the project gets LEED certification, it would meet the requirement. There's also a program called Florida Green Buildings, which we're proposing would encompass half the community sustainability or incentive program. If you incorporate a historic structure and rehab it, that gets you half of your bonus program. If you include a transit station as part of your project, you would get half. And also, what it does is provide a balance between the cost of doing sustainable development in the city, as well as the economic return on the project and to the developer. So we're hoping that we don't make it so cost prohibitive that we prevent people from coming in to invest, but we also want to encourage the best possible development that we can get. That's the end of that part, and we'll go to another piece.
Can I see that if you're finished?
Go back to the zoning device. So
I was just curious.
on
what it said.
Wednesday, we're going to be having our review of how the zoning would work. And one of the things the Planning and Zoning Board asked, and the Historic Resource Preservation Board asked for about a year ago, was what does this look like in real practice? So having had some connections at the University of Miami School of Architecture, I contacted Elizabeth Powder-Zyberg, who is the dean there, and she is the basically guru for classical architecture, urban development from that's new, traditional, and historic based. And we looked at, since it seems to be the most controversial area in the city, this proposed hotel area, and asked them, take what we have written in the LDRs and show us what real buildings look like if they were built in this area. So we took 3 views. One, and we have the whole thing done, but one is from basically looking at outside 2 days at the Bank of America site. Another one is looking down from Bryant Park and the bridge toward the Gulf Stream and seeing what will look like going down Lake. And another view is from over here looking at what will probably happen or could happen on the Chase Bank site. So, there's a question on.